The massive chamber stretched out like a cathedral made of crystal and light. Hundreds of alien beings filled the floating seats that circled the center stage. Their voices echoed off the walls as they spoke in dozens of different languages. Translation devices buzzed and clicked, turning their words into something humans could understand. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat alone at a small table in the middle of it all. She wore a simple black suit that looked almost plain next to the colorful robes and shining armor of the aliens around her. Her hands were folded calmly on the table. Her face showed no fear, no anger, no worry at all. The Zephyrian speaker stood up first. His blue skin glowed softly in the chamber's light. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind through leaves. "We are here today to discuss the human problem," he said. "For too long we have watched these creatures spread across our galaxy like a disease." Murmurs of agreement came from all around the chamber. The Nexari delegate, a tall being made of what looked like living metal, clicked his approval. "The humans refuse to follow our laws," he said in a voice like grinding gears. "They take worlds that belong to others. They fight wars instead of talking. They are dangerous." Sarah stayed quiet and listened. She had heard all of this before. For months, these aliens had been meeting to talk about what to do with humanity. They called it a trial, but she knew better. They had already decided what they wanted to do. This was just a show. The ancient Vorthak representative spoke next. She was so old that her shell had turned almost white. Her voice cracked like breaking stone. "In my 1,000 years of life, I have never seen a species so violent," she said. "They fight each other constantly. They destroy their own worlds. They know nothing but war." More voices joined in. The Kalari complained about human colonies on worlds they claimed as their own. The Astron talked about trade routes that humans had taken over. The Morphic Collective worried about human technology advancing too fast. "They are too unpredictable," said the Kalari ambassador. "One day they offer friendship, the next day they point weapons at us. We cannot trust them. Their expansion must be stopped," added the Astron leader. "They take whatever they want and ask permission later. This is not how civilized beings behave." Sarah looked around the chamber. She saw fear in their eyes, though they tried to hide it. These beings had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They were used to getting their way through talk and treaties. The idea that someone might simply say no to them scared them more than they wanted to admit. The Zephyrian speaker stood again. "We have tried to work with the humans," he said. "We offered them membership in our council. We gave them trade agreements. We shared our knowledge. But they always want more. They always push for more territory, more resources, more power. Perhaps," said the Nexari delegate, "it is time to show them that they cannot simply take what they want. Perhaps they need to learn their place in this galaxy." The chamber filled with the sound of agreement. Clicks, chirps, hums, and other alien sounds all mixed together in a chorus of approval. These beings thought they were about to solve their human problem once and for all. Sarah finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but somehow it cut through all the noise. "Are you finished?" The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to her. The Zephyrian speaker looked surprised that she had said anything at all. "Do you have something to say in your defense?" he asked. "Some explanation for your species' behavior?" Sarah smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Defense?" she said. "You think I came here to defend humanity?" She stood up slowly. Around her, the aliens leaned forward in their seats. They expected her to beg. They expected her to offer deals and compromises. They expected her to try to save her species through words. "You want to know about human behavior?" Sarah asked. "You want to understand why we do what we do? Let me tell you something about humans. We are very simple creatures. When someone threatens us, we have a simple response." She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device. It looked like a communicator, but the aliens had never seen one quite like it. Strange symbols glowed on its surface. "You see," Sarah continued, "while you have been sitting here talking for months, humanity has been busy. We knew this day would come. We knew that eventually you would decide we were too dangerous to live alongside. So we prepared." The device in her hand beeped softly. A holographic display appeared above it, showing star charts and fleet positions. The aliens stared at the images in growing alarm. "You think we are violent?" Sarah asked. "You think we are unpredictable? You think we are dangerous? You are absolutely right, but you made one critical mistake." She pressed a button on the device. The holographic display zoomed in on the system where they were meeting. Red dots appeared all around it, moving closer. "You assumed that because we were willing to talk, we were weak," Sarah said. You assume that because we tried diplomacy first, we preferred it to war. You were wrong. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Aliens shouted questions and demands. Some tried to contact their own fleets. Others called for guards to arrest Sarah. She ignored them all and spoke into the communicator. Her voice was calm and clear. Admiral Torres, this is Ambassador Chen. The talking phase is now over. The reply came back immediately, broadcast loud enough for the entire chamber to hear. Understood, Ambassador. All human fleets are in position. We are ready to begin. Sarah looked around the chamber at the frightened faces of beings who had thought they were about to pass judgment on humanity. You wanted to know what humans do when threatened, she said. You wanted to see our true nature. Consider this your education. She pressed another button on the device. This time her voice was broadcast to every ship, station, and world in the galaxy. This is Ambassador Sarah Chen, speaking for the human race. For months you have debated our fate. You have decided that we are too dangerous to exist as equals. We accept your judgment. The chamber was now in complete chaos. Alarms were sounding as the aliens' own sensors began to detect the approaching human fleets. Military commanders were shouting orders while diplomats demanded explanations. Sarah's voice cut through it all. But understand this, she said. If we are too dangerous to be your equals, then we will be your superiors instead. You have exactly 1 hour to surrender your fleets and submit to human authority. If you refuse, we will show you exactly why you were right to fear us. She turned off the communicator and sat back down at her table. Around her, the greatest diplomatic minds in the galaxy scrambled to understand what had just happened. They had come here to judge humanity. Instead, they had just learned that humanity had already judged them. The trial was over. The war was about to begin. Admiral Marcus Torres stood on the bridge of the human dreadnought Defiance. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with the quiet efficiency of people who had done this many times before. The bridge was darker than those on alien ships. Humans preferred it that way. It helped them focus. Fleet status report, Torres said. All ships report ready, Admiral, replied Commander Lisa Park from her station. We have 3,742 vessels in attack formation. The aliens still haven't detected us. Torres nodded. The human stealth technology was something the aliens had never seen before. While they had been talking in their fancy council chambers, human engineers had been working day and night to perfect it. The galaxy's so-called advanced civilizations had grown lazy. They relied too much on old technology and old ways of thinking. How long until we reach the council world? Torres asked. 30 seconds to hyperspace exit, sir, answered Lieutenant Yamamoto from the navigation console. Torres walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at the swirling colors of hyperspace. In a few moments, his fleet would appear around the most important world in the galaxy. The aliens would finally see what humanity had been building while they talked and debated. Open a channel to all ships, Torres ordered. Channel open, sir. This is Admiral Torres to all human vessels. In a few seconds, we will exit hyperspace and begin our mission. Remember your training. Remember why we are here. These aliens think we are savages who know nothing but violence. Let us show them that they are right. All ships prepare for combat. 3,000 voices responded as one. Ready, Admiral. Exit hyperspace in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 now. The swirling colors vanished, replaced by the black of space filled with stars. But the space around the council world was not empty. Hundreds of alien ships floated in neat formations around the planet. Their hulls gleamed in the light of the system's star. They looked beautiful and peaceful, like works of art rather than weapons of war. That changed quickly. Alarms began blaring on every alien ship as their sensors detected the massive human fleet that had just appeared around them. The humans had not come in the small groups that the aliens expected. They had brought everything they had. Captain Elena Vasquez watched from the bridge of her destroyer, Relentless. She had fought in the war against the Martian rebels, the conflict with the asteroid pirates, and a dozen other battles. Her ship showed the scars of those fights. Burn marks covered its hull. Weapon ports had been repaired and upgraded so many times that they looked different from the original design. Look at them, she said to her first officer. Their ships are so pretty and clean. I bet most of them have never been in a real fight. The alien fleet was scrambling to respond. Their ships moved slowly, carefully, like they were afraid of bumping into each other. The human fleet moved like a pack of wolves. Each ship knew exactly where it needed to be and how to get there without getting in the way of the others. Admiral, Torres is broadcasting, reported the communications. officer on every screen in the human fleet. Torres's face appeared. He was not a young man, but his eyes burned with the intensity of someone who had spent his life preparing for this moment. "People of the galaxy," he said, "you have spent months debating whether humanity deserves a place among you. You have decided that we are too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous. We are here to tell you that you are absolutely correct." The alien fleet commanders were frantically trying to organize their ships. The Zephyrian vessels, beautiful and graceful, began to glow with defensive energy. The Nexari ships, angular and precise, powered up their weapon systems. The ancient Vorthak dreadnoughts, massive and heavily armored, slowly turned to face the human fleet. But they were too slow. Humans had learned to fight in the asteroid fields of their home system, where a second of hesitation meant death. They had perfected their tactics in brutal wars against each other, where mercy was a luxury that got you killed. "You wanted to judge us," Torres continued. "You wanted to decide our fate based on your fears and prejudices. But there is something you do not understand about humans. We do not wait for others to decide our fate. We decide it ourselves." The first shots came from the human fleet. Unlike the elegant energy beams that aliens preferred, human weapons were crude and brutal. Kinetic projectiles, nuclear missiles, and plasma cannons all fired at once. The effect was devastating. An entire squadron of Kalari cruisers disappeared in balls of fire. Their shields, designed to stop the precise energy weapons that civilized races used, could not handle the raw violence of human firepower. "All ships, attack pattern Omega," Torres ordered. "Show them what we learned fighting each other." The human fleet split into dozens of smaller groups. Each group moved with perfect coordination, hitting the aliens from multiple directions at once. This was not the kind of battle that the galaxy was used to. There were no formal challenges, no honorable single combat, no rules of engagement. This was total war. Captain Sarah Kim commanded the battlecruiser Vengeance. Her ship dove toward a formation of Astran vessels, her guns blazing. The aliens tried to match her maneuvers, but they had never fought anyone who moved like this. Humans did not fight to look good or to follow ancient traditions. They fought to win. "Target their command ship," Kim ordered. "Full spread of missiles." The Vengeance launched every missile it had. The Astran ships tried to intercept them, but human missiles were not like alien ones. They twisted and turned, used stealth technology, and even split into multiple warheads. Half of them got through. The Astran command ship broke apart in a series of explosions. Its crew had probably never imagined that anyone would target them specifically. In their civilized wars, command ships were usually off limits. Humans had no such restrictions. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human ships rammed alien vessels when their weapons ran out of ammunition. Boarding parties cut through alien hulls with tools that were more like mining equipment than military hardware. Human pilots ejected from disabled fighters and used their personal weapons to attack enemy ships. The aliens had superior technology. Their ships were faster, their shields stronger, their weapons more advanced. But none of that mattered. The humans fought like they were still back on their death world, where everything was trying to kill them and only the strongest survived. "Status report," Torres requested. "Enemy losses at 40% and climbing." Park reported. "Our losses at 12%. The aliens are starting to retreat." Torres watched as the beautiful alien ships fled toward the edges of the system. Some of them were broadcasting surrender signals. Others were simply running as fast as they could. "Let them go," he said. "For now. Open a channel to the planet." The transmission reached every communication device on the Council world. Torres's face appeared on screens in the great chamber where the aliens had been meeting, in government buildings, in homes, and in the streets. "This is Admiral Marcus Torres of the human fleet," he said. "Your ships are destroyed or fleeing. Your world is now under human control. You wanted to know what humans do when threatened. Now you know. We do not negotiate with those who threaten us. We do not compromise with those who would destroy us. We fight back with everything we have." Down on the planet, the aliens watched their fleets burn in the sky above. They had thought they were dealing with another species that could be controlled through diplomacy and threats. They had been wrong. "Your trial of humanity is over," Torres said. "Now our trial of you begins." The Nexari Admiral Zeth 9 could not understand what he was seeing. His flagship, the Eternal Logic, was being boarded by human soldiers, and they were fighting in ways that made no sense to his mathematical mind. Zeth 9 had studied every known form of combat. He had analyzed thousands of battles and calculated the most efficient ways to fight, but the humans ignored every rule he had learned. They threw themselves into battle with a fury that seemed to defy logic itself. "Report from Deck 7, his aide announced. "The human boarding party has broken through our defenses. They are advancing toward the engine room." "How many of them are there?" Zeth 9 asked. 15, sir. "But they have already defeated 50 of our security troops." Zeth 9's crystalline features flickered with confusion. The math did not work. 15 soldiers should not be able to defeat 50, especially when the 50 had better weapons and knew the ship's layout. But somehow the humans were winning. On Deck 7, Captain Elena Vasquez led her Marines through the corridors of the alien ship. Her armor was scorched and dented from enemy fire, but she kept moving forward. Behind her, Sergeant Rodriguez covered their advance with his heavy plasma rifle. "Contact front," shouted Corporal Chen as more Nexari soldiers appeared around a corner. The aliens fired their energy weapons with precise, calculated shots. Each beam was aimed exactly where their targeting computers said it would do the most damage. It was perfect, efficient warfare. The humans responded by charging straight at them. Vasquez rolled behind a bulkhead and came up firing. Her weapon was crude compared to the alien technology, but it worked. More importantly, she was not afraid to use it. The Nexari soldiers had been programmed to fight, but they had never learned to want to fight. "Rodriguez, take the left side," she shouted. "Chen, you go right." "I'll go straight up the middle." The Marines split up and attacked from 3 directions at once. The Nexari tried to recalculate their defense, but the humans moved too fast. Rodriguez used his rocket launcher to blow a hole in the wall and attack through it. Chen crawled through the ventilation system and dropped down behind the enemy. Vasquez simply ran straight at them, firing as she went. In 30 seconds, the corridor was full of smoke and broken metal. The Nexari soldiers lay scattered on the floor. The humans were already moving toward their next objective. On the bridge, Zeth 9 watched his security cameras in growing alarm. The humans did not fight like any species he had ever encountered. They seemed to enjoy the battle itself, not just winning it. "Sir," his aide said, "perhaps we should surrender. These creatures are not following any known combat protocols." Zeth 9 considered this. In his culture, surrender was a logical choice when defeat was certain. It saved resources and lives. But he had studied human history. He knew that humans often did not accept surrender. He was right to worry. In another part of the galaxy, the Vorthak Empress Kalaneth was learning the same lesson. Her ancient shell ship, the Enduring Wisdom, was under attack by human fighters. The pilots of those small craft were doing things that should have been impossible. Lieutenant Jack Harrison dove his fighter straight toward the massive alien vessel. His instruments screamed warnings about the ship's defensive systems, but he ignored them. The Vorthak point defense guns tried to track him, but they were too slow. Harrison's fighter was called a Wasp, and the name fit. It was small, fast, and angry. Unlike alien fighters, which were built to look impressive, the Wasp was built to kill things. Every part of it was a weapon or helped the weapons work better. "This is Harrison to all Wasp Squadron," he said into his radio. "I'm going in. Follow me if you want to live forever." The other human pilots laughed. They had heard that joke 100 times, but it never got old. They followed Harrison in a diving attack that the Vorthak had never seen before. Instead of firing from long range like civilized pilots, the humans closed to almost point-blank range. They flew so close to the alien ship that its own guns could not target them without hitting its own hull. Then they fired everything they had into the ship's armor. The Wasp fighters carried missiles that were designed to penetrate deep into a target before exploding. When 12 of them hit the same spot on the Vorthak ship's hull, they punched through armor that was thousands of years old. "Hull breach on the Enduring Wisdom," reported the Human Fleet Command, sending in the boarding teams. The Vorthak crew inside the ship prepared to repel boarders. They had fought battles across the galaxy for millennia. Their shells were natural armor, and their claws could cut through steel. They thought they were ready for anything. They were not ready for humans. The boarding pod that crashed through their hull looked like a meteorite made of metal and fury. When it opened, 20 human Marines poured out wearing armor that made them look like mechanical demons. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos was the first one out. She had grown up in the slums of Earth's South American Federation, where she had learned to fight before she learned to read. The military had given her better weapons and training, but it had not changed her basic nature. The Vorthak warriors charged at the humans with ancient war cries. Their shells could stop most weapons, and their claws had been honed by centuries of battle. They expected the humans to fall back and try to fight at long range. Instead, Santos pulled out a weapon that looked like a cross between a hammer and a rocket launcher. She fired it at the nearest Vorthak warrior. The shell that had protected him for 300 years cracked like an egg. "That's for my homeworld, you oversized turtle," she shouted and charged at the next warrior. The other Marines followed her example. They did not try to fight smart or efficiently. They fought like humans had always fought, with everything they had and no thought for the cost. The Vorthak warriors were brave and skilled, but they had never fought anyone who seemed to enjoy combat as much as these humans did. The Marines used their weapons like clubs when they ran out of ammunition. They grabbed pieces of broken ship and used them as improvised weapons. One Marine even bit a Vorthak warrior when her rifle jammed. Within minutes, the corridor was full of broken shells and scattered weapons. The human Marines were wounded and tired, but they were still fighting. The Vorthak were retreating. "Sector secure," Santos reported. "Moving to the next objective. Send more Marines. This is fun." Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on dozens of worlds and hundreds of ships. The human forces were not larger than the alien ones. Their technology was not better, but they had something that the aliens had lost long ago. They remembered what it meant to be predators. Dr. Rebecca Martinez stood in her laboratory aboard the human research vessel Discovery. Around her, alien prisoners sat in holding cells, and she was studying them with the cold interest of a scientist examining insects. "Fascinating," she said to her assistant. "Look at this brain scan from the Zephyrian prisoner. See how the aggression centers are almost completely undeveloped? No wonder they prefer to talk instead of fight." "What about the Nexari?" her assistant asked. "Even more interesting. Their brains are like biological computers. Very logical, very efficient, but no real killer instinct. They fight because their programming tells them to, not because they want to." Martinez had been a xenobiologist before the war started. She had studied alien life forms to understand how they lived and evolved. Now she was using that knowledge to understand how they died. "The problem with all these species," she continued, "is that they evolved on worlds that were too easy. The Zephyrians come from a planet with no major predators. The Nexari were created by machines that removed all the dangerous elements from their world. The Vorthak lived so long that they forgot what it was like to be young and hungry." She walked over to a map of the galaxy that showed the worlds where humans had won battles. Red dots marked their victories, and there were a lot of them. "But humans," she said, "humans evolved on a death world. Everything on Earth was trying to kill us. The weather, the animals, the diseases, even the plants. We learned to fight or die. We learned to be afraid and to use that fear to make us stronger." Her assistant looked at the alien prisoners. They sat quietly in their cells, not trying to escape or fight back. They had accepted their capture as if it was just another negotiation. "They don't understand us, do they?" the assistant asked. "No," Martinez replied. "They think we are just another species that can be reasoned with or controlled. They do not realize that we are what every other species in this galaxy fears most. We are the monsters that their children have nightmares about." She turned back to her work. There was still so much to learn about the aliens, and every piece of information could be used to fight them more effectively. "The universe is a dangerous place," she said. "It always has been. These aliens just forgot that for a while. We are here to remind them." The war had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. What had started as a single battle at the Council world had become something much larger and more terrible. The aliens were learning that humans did not fight small wars. Commander David Kim stood on the bridge of his destroyer, watching another alien world burn below them. The planet had been a Kalari agricultural world, peaceful and green. Now columns of smoke rose from its cities and human ships controlled its orbit. "Status report," Kim ordered. "All military targets destroyed, sir," his weapons officer replied. "The planetary government has surrendered." "They are requesting terms." Kim looked at the planet below. Part of him felt sorry for the civilians down there. They had not chosen this war, but another part of him, the part that had grown up hearing stories about humanity's struggles to survive, felt no pity at all. "Tell them the terms are simple," he said. "Complete surrender. No conditions. No negotiations. If they want to live, they will submit to human authority." This was the new reality across the galaxy. Human fleets appeared without warning around alien worlds. They destroyed military installations, captured government officials, and demanded total surrender. Those who submitted quickly were treated well. Those who resisted were destroyed, but the humans had not revealed the full scope of their preparations. While the aliens had been talking in their council chambers, humanity had been building a war machine that spanned hundreds of star systems. On the hidden world of New Sparta, Admiral Sarah Mitchell walked through the largest shipyard in human space. Around her, thousands of workers built new warships 24 hours a day. The sound of construction never stopped. "Production report," she said to the yard supervisor. "We are launching 6 new destroyers every day," he replied. 12 frigates, 4 cruisers, and 1 battleship every week. The weapons factories are operating at full capacity." Mitchell nodded. The aliens thought they had seen humanity's full strength at the Council world. They had no idea that the battle fleet was just the beginning. Humans had been preparing for this war for decades, ever since they first made contact with alien civilizations. "What about the sleeper agents?" she asked. "All activated, Admiral. We have people in position on 70% of alien worlds. They are ready to act when you give the order." The sleeper agents were humans who had been living among alien populations for years. They worked as traders, diplomats, technicians, and teachers. The aliens had welcomed them as proof that humans could be civilized. They had been wrong. Agent Lisa Park had been living on the Nexari homeworld for 5 years. She worked as a trade negotiator and had access to the planet's main computer networks. When the war started, she received a coded message with her real mission. She walked into the Nexari Central Command building as she had done hundreds of times before. The alien guards knew her and trusted her. They did not search her briefcase or question why she was working late. In the building's computer center, Park connected a small device to the main network. Within seconds, human viruses began spreading through every Nexari system. Communication networks went down. Power grids failed. Transportation systems stopped working. The Nexari were a logical species that depended on their computers for everything. When those computers stopped working, their entire civilization began to collapse. Similar attacks happened on dozens of worlds at the same time. Human agents sabotaged alien infrastructure, assassinated military leaders, and spread panic among civilian populations. The aliens discovered that the humans they had trusted were actually enemy soldiers who had been waiting for orders. But the worst was yet to come. Dr. Rebecca Martinez had been busy in her laboratory. She had studied the biology of every major alien species and she had found their weaknesses. Now she was creating weapons that would target those weaknesses specifically. "The virus is ready," she told Admiral Torres over a secure communication link. "It will affect only Zephyrian biology. Their immune systems have no defense against it." Torres looked uncomfortable. Even for a soldier who had fought in many wars, biological weapons were a step beyond normal warfare. "Are you certain it will not affect other species?" "Completely certain," Martinez replied. "I have tested it extensively. It will kill Zephyrians within days, but it is harmless to every other form of life." Torres made his decision. "Deploy it." Within weeks, the Zephyrian homeworld was silent. Their beautiful cities stood empty. Their art galleries and concert halls were filled only with dust. An entire species had been erased from existence by a weapon they could not see or fight. The news spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. The aliens realized that they were not fighting a conventional war. They were fighting for their survival against an enemy that would use any weapon to win. Panic began to spread through alien space. Some species tried to negotiate separate peace treaties with humanity. Others formed desperate alliances to fight back. A few simply surrendered without fighting. The Astran Empire, which had ruled 100 star systems for 1,000 years, collapsed in a matter of weeks. Their capital world fell when human commandos infiltrated their government buildings and killed their entire ruling council in a single night. The Kalari Federation tried to fight back, but their military had grown weak from centuries of peace. Their ships were destroyed by human forces that seemed to appear everywhere at once. The ancient Vorthic Empire lasted longer than most. Their ships were powerful, and their warriors were experienced. But they made the mistake of challenging humans to honorable single combat. General Patricia Stone accepted their challenge. She met the Vorthak champion on a barren moon where both fleets could watch the battle. The alien warrior was 3 times her size and had been fighting for centuries. He expected an easy victory. The fight lasted exactly 37 seconds. Stone used weapons and tactics that the Vorthak had never seen before. When it was over, The alien champion was dead and the Vorthak fleet surrendered without firing a shot. Humans do not fight for honor, Stone told the defeated aliens. We fight to win. But the most devastating blow came when the aliens tried to unite against humanity. The survivors of dozens of species gathered their remaining fleets for one final battle. They chose the ancient battleground of Sigma Draconis, where their ancestors had fought the last great galactic war. Admiral Torres met them there with the entire human fleet. But this time he did not just bring warships. He brought something much worse. Deploy the planet killers, he ordered. The weapons that emerged from the human fleet were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were not meant to defeat enemy ships or capture territory. They were meant to destroy entire worlds. The first target was a barren planet that served as the aliens' staging area. The planet killer struck it with enough force to crack its core. Within hours, the world was breaking apart. Your choice is simple, Torres broadcast to the alien fleet. Surrender now or watch as we destroy every world your species call home. We have enough planet killers to turn 100 star systems into asteroid fields. The alien fleet commanders looked at their screens and saw the broken remains of a world that had existed for billions of years. They understood that they were not dealing with another civilized species. They were dealing with something far more dangerous. One by one, the alien fleets began to surrender. Some tried to run, but human ships were waiting for them. Others tried to hide, but human intelligence networks found them. A few kept fighting, but they were destroyed without mercy. The Great Galactic War was ending, but not the way anyone had expected. The species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were defeated, scattered, or dead. In their place, a new power was rising. Humanity had proven that they were exactly what the aliens had feared. They were violent, unpredictable, and dangerous, but they were also victorious. The galaxy would never be the same. The war was over. Admiral Marcus Torres stood in what had once been the great chamber of the Galactic Council. The beautiful crystal walls were cracked and scorched. The floating seats where alien dignitaries had once debated lay broken on the floor. Human soldiers patrolled the halls where diplomats had once walked in safety. The surviving alien leaders knelt before him in chains. These were the beings who had thought they could judge humanity's fitness for galactic society. Now they waited to learn their own fate. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked up beside Torres. Her simple black suit looked even plainer in the ruined chamber, but her eyes held the satisfaction of someone whose plan had worked perfectly. The casualty reports are in, she said quietly. The Zephyrian species is extinct. The Nexari population is down to less than 10 million. The Kalari have lost their homeworld and most of their colonies. The Vorthak Empire no longer exists, Torres nodded. The numbers were staggering, but he felt no regret. The aliens had chosen this path when they decided that humanity was too dangerous to live among them. They had gotten exactly what they asked for. What about the species that surrendered early? He asked. They are being relocated to reservation worlds, Chen replied. Under human supervision, of course. They will be allowed to maintain their cultures, but they will follow human laws and serve human interests. A morphic collective representative tried to speak. Its shape-shifting form flickered between different alien appearances as it struggled to find words. You cannot do this, it said. The galaxy has laws. There are rules that govern civilized behavior. Torres looked down at the creature with cold eyes. Your laws, he said. Your rules, made by your civilizations for your benefit, but you are not in charge anymore. He gestured to the human soldiers around the chamber. They stood at attention, their weapons ready, their faces showing no emotion. These were the same kind of warriors who had conquered worlds and destroyed fleets across the galaxy. Let me explain the new rules. Torres continued. Rule 1, humans are in charge. Rule 2, what humans say goes. Rule 3, anyone who breaks rules 1 or 2 will be eliminated. The alien leaders shuddered at his words. They had grown up in a galaxy where war was rare and violence was controlled. The idea that an entire species could be eliminated for disobedience was beyond their understanding. An ancient Vorthak survivor raised her head. Her shell was cracked and her voice was weak, but she still tried to maintain her dignity. In my 1,000 years of life, she said, I have seen many wars, but I have never seen anything like this. You fight without honor. You kill without mercy. You destroy entire civilizations for sport. Torres walked closer to her. Honor, he said. You want to talk about honor? Where was your honor when you decided to exterminate humanity? Where was your mercy when you planned to wipe us out because we would not bow to your authority? He turned to address all the alien prisoners. You judge us for being violent. You call us savages and monsters, but you were willing to commit genocide to maintain your power. The only difference between us is that we are better at it than you are. Chen stepped forward. The humans of Earth evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day, she said. We learned to fight everything. The weather, the animals, the diseases, and each other. We became the perfect predators because anything less than perfect meant extinction. She looked around the ruined chamber. You evolved on safe worlds with plenty of resources. You learned to talk and negotiate because you never had to fight for survival. When you met us, you tried to use the same methods that worked with other civilized species. But we are not civilized by your standards. We are survivors. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a map of the galaxy with human-controlled territories marked in red. The red areas covered most of the inhabited systems. This is the new reality, Torres announced. Human fleets patrol every major trade route. Human governors rule from former alien capitals. Human law is enforced on every world. The galaxy now serves humanity's interests. But the map showed more than just military conquest. It showed something that surprised even some of the human officers present. New trade routes connected human worlds to alien survivors. Reconstruction projects were underway on damaged planets. Scientific research stations were being built in former military bases. However, Chen added, humanity is not interested in ruling over empty space and dead worlds. Those species that accept human authority will be allowed to prosper under our protection. Your knowledge and skills are valuable to us. Your cultures and traditions will be preserved, as long as they do not conflict with human interests. The alien prisoners looked confused. They had expected total extermination or eternal slavery. The reality was more complex, Torres explained. Humans are practical. We could kill every alien in the galaxy, but that would be wasteful. Instead, we will use your abilities to build something better than what existed before. Under human leadership, the galaxy will become stronger, more efficient, and more unified than it has ever been. He activated another display. This one showed construction projects across human space. Massive shipyards, research facilities, and industrial complexes were being built with both human and alien labor. The old galactic order was weak, Torres said. It relied on endless debates and compromises that satisfied no one. Decisions took years to make and were often ignored. Wars were fought according to ancient rules that made them last longer and cost more lives. That inefficiency ends now. Dr. Rebecca Martinez entered the chamber, carrying a datapad filled with research reports. She had been working around the clock to study the aliens and their technologies. We have made remarkable discoveries, she announced. Alien medical technology can extend human lifespans by centuries. Their manufacturing techniques can produce goods at a fraction of current costs. Their transportation systems can move fleets across the galaxy in weeks instead of months. She looked at the alien prisoners. Your species developed these technologies over thousands of years. Under human direction, we can improve them and combine them in ways you never imagined. The galaxy will benefit from human efficiency and alien innovation working together. But there was an edge to her voice that made the aliens nervous. Of course, she continued, any species that chooses not to cooperate will find itself excluded from these benefits. Permanently. Captain Elena Vasquez spoke up from her position near the chamber's entrance. Admiral, the fleet commanders are requesting orders for the next phase of operations. Torres nodded. Tell them to begin establishing permanent bases in every major system. I want human military presence visible throughout the galaxy. Any species that thinks about rebellion should be reminded of what happened to the Zephyrians. The alien prisoners shuddered again at the mention of the extinct species. The biological weapon that had killed them had become a symbol of human ruthlessness throughout the galaxy. But also tell them to begin recruiting from the surviving alien populations, Torres added. Those who prove their loyalty to humanity can serve in our fleets and armies. They can earn their place in the new order through service, Chen smiled. Some of you are probably wondering why we are offering you this opportunity, she said to the prisoners. After all, you tried to destroy us. By your own logic, we should eliminate all of you as potential threats. She walked closer to them. But humans understand something that your species forgot. Strength comes from unity. The strongest human nations on Earth were those that could absorb other peoples and make them part of their own society. We do not just conquer our enemies. We make them into allies. Torres raised his voice so that it echoed throughout the chamber. Let this be known throughout the galaxy. The age of alien rule is over. The age of human dominance has begun. But this is not just a conquest. This is an evolution. Together we will build something greater than what any of our species could achieve alone. He looked directly at each of the alien prisoners. You have a choice. You can accept the new reality and find your place in it, or you can resist and face the same fate as those who chose war over wisdom. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of human boots on the broken floor and the quiet hum of alien translation devices. The survivors of galactic civilization waited to learn what their future would hold. Ambassador Chen spoke one final time. You came here to judge humanity. You decided that we were too dangerous to exist as your equals. You were right about one thing. We are dangerous, but you were wrong about everything else. She gestured to the human soldiers, the ruined chamber, and the holographic displays showing human control across the galaxy. We were never meant to be your equals, she said. We were meant to be your superiors. The trial is over. The verdict is final. Welcome to the human galaxy. Outside the chamber, human ships patrolled the skies while alien survivors began the long process of adapting to their new reality. The galaxy had indeed been judged, but not in the way anyone had expected. Humanity had proven that sometimes the species being judged ends up becoming the judge. The war was over. The new order had begun, and in the vast darkness of space, human ships carried a simple message to every world they encountered. Humanity had arrived. The galaxy belonged to them now, and they intended to keep it.